Talk to me, please.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Game Smash podcast, and always I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is.
Almost stumbled there, eh, Tanner?
No.
Last Muhammad Yusuf.
I don't stumble. What are you talking about? Lies in Boulder Dash. But yeah, we're going to be talking about game news, which is what we do on this podcast. We're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about the Overwatch anniversary event, Gwent Open beta date, Witcher series coming to Netflix, Microsoft extending the trademark for Scalebound, new characters for ARMS, Twintelle, Bite and Bark, and Kid Cobra, and Destiny 2 gameplay reveal. Before we get into that, let's talk about what we played this week. So I'm just trucking along, more Persona. I'm definitely getting a lot closer to the end.
You can't be getting any farther now, can you?
Yeah, I can't really get any farther. I would assume that the game will probably be finished in like date wise April, right?
So a full year, yeah.
Yeah, full year. I think that's what they've been setting up. It's not really a spoiler. That's usually how most Persona games usually are. It's like you spend a year with the characters.
Yeah.
I'm at about, I want to say mid-December.
Okay.
And I fought a really, really, really big boss. Like, it was like a big story moment boss. It was... I won't get into details, but man, did I love the design. There was a design, how the boss was designed. I was like, oh, that's such a friggin' radical design. And this is something that I always love it when Persona does it, is that when you listen to a track and you're fighting you basically, like, when you're fighting the boss, there's stages, which is not, like, that's nothing new, right? Stages to a boss is a typical thing. But I love, with a burning passion, when the first two stages is just instrumental, and then when you get to the third stage, the vocals kick in. That is my jam, and I love it. I love it to death. So yeah, I've just been playing that. What else did I do? Played a little bit more of Binding, and I got back into Breath of the Wild for a bit, because I know that the DLC is supposed to be dropping relatively soon.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just trying to get my bearings, remember how to play the game, all that fun stuff. So that's basically what I've been playing this week. What about you, Fawaz?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I've been playing Persona 5. I think I'm 30 something hours in. So, I've gotten to that point where I'm like that, okay, because there's always that trepidation when you buy a sequel to a game that you love, and you're worried that, it just won't recapture that magic, especially when the game that you love, it was the first one, right?
It was the first one, yeah.
So the lack of that, like, brand, the fact that it's not a brand new experience anymore, there's always that trepidation. But no, at this point, unless the gameplay, like, drastically changes, which I'm sure it will not, because one thing the Japanese do not do is change.
Okay.
So yeah, unless the gameplay...
That's very oddly specific.
I think I'm liking it. I just got Makoto and I cleared the dungeon that you get Makoto in. So the bank, I just cleared the bank and I got Makoto. My friend was like that I should be about halfway through the game now. So that's cool. I've just been messing around. I've given up because there's just one trophy that I really wanted to get with Persona 4 Golden, the one for maxing out all your S-links. It's very, very difficult, as you can probably imagine. So, like, I have to, because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get it in my first try with this. So I'm just not even bothering with that anymore. A couple of things though. The writing in this game is kind of bad. Is it just me, or is the writing kind of?
I disagree. I think it's different than Persona 4.
No. I think Persona 4's writing was bad too. So that just for the.
What do you mean? Like, specifically, what do you mean by the writing?
Okay. So the scenes between the students and stuff, I love all those scenes, right?
Okay,
that's why I fell in love with Persona 4, and I'm liking that with Persona 5 as well. When they went to the buffet and all that stuff, I love it. But like the scenes in the dungeons when they're talking to the bad guys, it's like so unbelievably repetitive. They just keep the bad guy just keep reiterating, "Oh, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad," and then just keep reiterating, "You're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad." And it's going to the point where I just skip most of the time because I'm just like they're just saying the same things. Like with Matarame.
Matarame.
Yeah, I felt like the writers they just googled bad stuff and then they were like, okay, let's just make this guy do everything. It was like there's no so you look at like we're gonna get to this later on in the podcast, but Sniper Wolf, right? Like when I was younger, I always remember when I killed Sniper Wolf in Metal Gear Solid, I felt sad, right? Because like I can't remember the exact story off the top of my head, but I know it was tragic, right? And it was understandable. Okay, the best example is Mr. Freeze, because that was one of the first villains that I ever found myself rooting for, right? Because I was I can understand his plight, right? He's just a man trying to save his wife. But then with these villains, okay, so maybe they get better, but like
they do. They certainly do. Like,
okay.
It's very interesting because you're actually at the point in which there is a bit of a tone shift. And that's sort of where... Now, what I will admit, though, and this is something that I will admit that I do think I liked more about Persona 4 than necessarily with 5, is that with Persona 4, the dungeons were all based around your team, right? So it was basically you delving into their personalities, right?
The first 5, I want to say, right? So
but it wasn't. Not all of them were like that. Like you were, there was that one where you were diving into that one crazy guy in the middle of the game.
Dude, right?
Yeah. And,
but no, you're right.
I will say this though, without going into too much detail, the dynamic of whose palaces you're going to be going into is definitely going to change.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily going to be just the that type of character. And for me, it was more like I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up. What they're actually doing is that they're setting up the bigger. Because I've gotten farther in the game, they're setting up the bigger plot points with these villains, and later on, you get this moment where you're like, okay, I get that now. I get why this character was like this, or I get why this character was like this. I will admit though that I feel that what it's a little bit weird, and this is something that I found was a little bit weird about what they decided to do, is that they really hammered down that these guys are bad, right? And you get that mentality, and I totally get where you're coming from. But when you get to the second half of the game, you start to get this really interesting mentality where it's like they start going back, and you start to see them from a different perspective. Some of the characters that you're facing right now, and it makes them a little less like cartoonish.
Cartoon. That's the perfect word.
Yeah, and I mean, like it is very cartoonish, but like from getting farther in the game, I do see why they chose to do it that particular way. I will admit though, I guess I remember reading an article, and he was specifically talking about how like he didn't want to do Persona 4 again, from a story perspective wise, because
and I appreciate that.
And obviously, I can tell you that the story obviously gets better, and the party itself is really fantastic. I guess to a certain extent, because I played Persona 3, right?
Yeah.
And Persona 3 had some of these villains that were a little bit ridiculous, but it was more what they were doing themselves. It was more like what they were doing that was interesting, necessarily what themselves were as characters, which is a little bit weird to say. But I do know what you mean, where it's like those first 3 dungeons, it is a little bit ridiculous how much they hammer on that these guys are dirtbags. But I do find that I like the aesthetic of the dungeons though, and I think
love the dungeons. Like,
Yeah.
like I always said this with Persona 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would clear every dungeon in one day because I had no interest in spending time in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were boring, and I was just like, okay, let's just get this over with so I can get back to hanging out with the crew and working on my S-Links, right? But these dungeons are actually really fun, and each dungeon feels unique, like the first dungeon with whatever, his name is irrelevant.
I think it's Katarame. Fuck.
Yeah. I can't remember what its unique mechanic was. That was like 30 hours ago. but like Madarame's dungeon, for example, you had the whole puzzle with the paintings and stuff like that, and I was like, that's pretty cool, and it fits the concept of the dungeon. And then with Kanashiro's dungeon, you have like the figuring out the password for the different locks and all that stuff, and I'm like, this also fits in. And yeah, all in all, and then just like aesthetically too, right? The fact that, like I said, earlier on, every single pathway looks unique, like these dungeons, because the dungeons in Persona 4 felt like they were procedurally generated, right?
Yeah, they were procedurally generated, but they had the flavor of what the character was.
Yeah, but every hallway looked the same, whereas here, you kind of get lost in these dungeons because it's like that. Okay, this hallway is completely different. I know where I have a general idea for where I am. You have like the traps in the dungeons. For example, with Kaneshiro, you have the security cameras that you have to deactivate. And all in all, man, I really like the dungeons, so I want to give them credit. Like, give me my criticism of the writing. This is for a game that I'm probably going to, like, if I had to score it right now, I'd score it 9 out of 10. I'm probably going to end up putting like 100 hours into it. But
sure.
like, so far anyway, I haven't been feeling the villains at all.
There's obviously more villains.
Like, they've been setting up this one villain, and this story started to take shape, so they made a relatively big revelation, and it's like, okay, that explains what was happening at the beginning of the game. So I'm really interested to see where it goes from there.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, and I can attest to you that it does get better the farther it goes. I guess it's interesting from my perspective. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, nothing. Just continue.
Just before we wrap this up, from my perspective, the thing that I find interesting is that a lot of the stuff that you were critiquing is like, I totally get you, and maybe it's just because I'm more used to it because I played Persona 3 first. That was my first experience, right? So I saw what they were doing there, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, I gotcha. And then I got to Persona 4, and I was like, okay, this is completely different. They're flipping a couple of different things around. And with here, it's like I'm seeing some completely new stuff, but also seeing some returning stuff from 3 and 4. So I'm interested to see how it all wraps up. But I will say this, like there's a specific part of this game, the rising action to the climax is fan-fucking-tastic. And it's really, really fun. But did you play anything else?
Yeah, the only other thing I played was Overwatch, but then that's just going to tie into our first bit of news, so we'll just like... you
want to just slide right into it?
Yeah, slide right in. So Overwatch's anniversary event was officially revealed to the surprise of absolutely no one. Yeah. The date is going to be the 23rd of May, which is today, actually, to the 2nd of June. And, we're getting a bunch of new skins. We're only getting skins and emotes. No win poses. No, sprays too, because Blizzard loves their sprays. But no win poses, no highlight intros, none of that. Just skins and emotes. Now, the reason why this is happening is because literally every character got an emote. They added the dancing emotes, so every character in the game is going to get a dancing emote. I went through them, and there's some pretty hilarious ones. Mm-hmm. Some of them are kind of awkward, because you know how it goes when you're animating dancing, right? Sometimes it just looks silly. And that is the case with some of them. Zarya's, I don't understand how you have a Russian character, you're doing dancing emotes, and you don't go with a Cossack dance. I was like, okay, sure, it's obvious, but it's better than what you gave us. What the hell is this?
Well, maybe it was too obvious of a thing, but yeah, no. I think they should have just went with the they should have just went with that.
Some of them are really good. What's it called? Tracer does the crap. I can't remember the name of the dance, but She's Charleston, I think. Yeah, Tracer
Yeah.
does the Charleston, so it's pretty cool. Winston does the twist. That caught me off guard. I was, and this is what I mean is that these were animated pretty well because they actually looked like the dances. I looked at Winston doing the dance. I was like, holy shit, he's doing the twist. And Ashton's dance that caught me off guard. I didn't expect it to be as awesome as it was. There's some pretty good dances there. Reaper's dance is probably my favorite, not because of how good it is, but because of how well it fits his character.
Yeah.
Then they also added a bunch of new skins. Zarya finally got a legendary that doesn't make me want to like gouge my eyes out. So I'm happy for that, and I'm gonna buy. I'm either gonna get if I don't get that in the pack, I'm gonna buy it at the end of the event. It's a really cool skin.
Yeah, there's some really good ones. Symmetra skin is
Symmetra skin is fantastic. Symmetra skin was absolute. I don't play Symmetra, and I probably never will, but she got a fantastic skin. Tracer, because we can have an event without Tracer getting a skin, but let's not get into that right now. Tracer got a new skin, and as much as I criticize them for giving her too many skins, and I think it's a legitimate criticism, this skin is really good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's a very good skin. It's funny because there's always been the joke that Tracer and Lucio are Jet Set Radio, right? And this skin is just Jet Set Radio. She's like a graffiti artist. There's a bunch of really cool skins. What's cool for me is that there's very few skins for heroes that I play. So when this event was coming out, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to shell out on loot boxes because I don't have a lot of credits left. Because the last event the last event just finished. I don't have a lot of credits left, and then the event comes out. I look through the skins. I'm like, these skins are all awesome. I don't play any of these heroes, so I'm like.
Well, I mean, like there's a couple. Like I probably want to get the soldier skin at some point, just because there's not that many soldier skins in the game, and I always I could go for a Deus Ex soldier, and the other one that I really love, I love the Genji one.
I don't like it. Like I get what they were doing with it. It's Super Sentai.
It's Kamen Rider. It's Kamen Rider. That's what it is. I mean, that's because I know what Kamen Rider is, and it's like I fucking love that they just fuck it. Let's make him a Kamen Rider skin.
The skin is called Sentai, and there's this show Super Sentai that the Power Rangers was based on. I get the reference. Kamen Rider is like a descendant of Super Sentai. So no, I completely get the reference. I just think the skin looks ridiculous.
Well, I mean, Sentai is ridiculous, so it's kind of like. It's gonna look ridiculous, and that's to me, I'm like, I'm loving the fact that I can have a ridiculous looking Genji, like that's.
It's like when someone punches me in the stomach and they're like, "Oh, it's supposed to hurt," and I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't change the fact that it hurts,"
I don't know. I really liked it. Hanzo's skin is also really good.
Hanzo's skin is sleek. It was definitely, I think it was worth the wait. I'm not a Hanzo main, so I don't know, but it looks like it was worth the wait. Lucio got a nice skin. He got a steampunk skin, and because I made a video going over all this stuff. I'm gonna post it up either today or tomorrow. Lucio got it'll be up by the time you guys hear this podcast.
Yeah.
Lucio's skin is cool. One thing I did not touch on in that video is that Lucio got a jazz-inspired steampunk skin. Mm-hmm. What I didn't touch on, because I don't have the skin, is the fact that the songs that he plays change if you put on the skin.
Oh, that's really good.
I checked out a video, and then the music that he plays, it changes from the DJ music to jazz, and it's it's pretty cool. A lot of people are like that. I can see that getting annoying pretty quickly, and I'm watching it. I'm like that. I like the idea, but I can definitely see that getting annoying. Or on the flip side, you just eventually your ears just get desensitized to it.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with me with the Lucio. Oh yeah, pump it up, and there is a track that he plays when you switch it, and it does kind of fade. Into the background for sure. So there's a bunch of cool skins. They also added 3 new maps for arcade mode. So one is based on Anubis, one's based on Eikingwald, and one's based on Dorado. I haven't played the Dorado one yet. I played the other 2. The maps are pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to check them out properly because I was playing I was playing 3v3 and 1v1 on them. There's not a lot of time for sightseeing when your opponent's trying to murder you. Right.
speaking of 3v3 and 1v1, I don't know if this update is permanent for 3v3 and 1v1 or if this is going to be a different version of those modes, but they've updated both modes. 3v3 now, every round you win, you can't use the heroes that you used in that round anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Now, obviously, because a lot of people were always like, whenever people asked, okay, is 3v3 ever going to become a competitive mode? What people always listed was the fact that if it ever became a competitive mode, it would literally just be Roadhog, 76, and a healer in every single match, because Roadhog is just so good in that mode, and so is 76. So now you can't do that anymore, which sucks for me, because that's all I ever used to do. I just pick Roadhog and just like I 1v3 sometimes, because it's just when I have 600 HP and I can one-shot 80% of the cast and I can heal myself, it's like, well, y'all are getting dumped.
Yeah.
So you can't do that anymore. So now every single round you have to switch. So I can see this being fun. It's gonna take some getting used to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's gonna take some getting used to. I'm gonna have to like mess around with the heroes that I play in that mode to figure out more combinations. The 1v1 mode also got changed, and this change I completely love. So how it works now is every round you get to pick between a pool of 3 heroes, right?
Yeah.
Well, your opponent gets to pick between a pool of 3 heroes. So there's a little bit of a mind game there. For example, there was a round I was playing against this guy, and the heroes available were Reaper, Pharah, and Widowmaker, right? And I was like, holy shit, okay, if I pick Pharah and he picks Widow, I lose. Right. But if I pick Reaper and he picks Pharah, I lose. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna cover my bases and go with Widow, and then he picked Reaper, and I lost.
So there is kind of like, there is the drafting kind of mind game in which, like, it kind of makes me feel like League, like competitive League, in which like you have first pick, second pick, and you kind of go down in an order. So that I would find very interesting to see how that like comes into Overwatch 3v3 play. I think it's going to make 3v3 more interesting, because a lot of the times the fact is, you just the Roadhog, Soldier, and a healer, and most of the time that healer's going to be Zenyatta, and it's like it gets boring seeing the same heroes over and over and over again.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to make you have to pick other heroes. So that's good. And then the heroes only get locked if you lose. So this is in a situation where your teammate is an incompetent Roadhog. He picks Roadhog. You guys go out there. Sorry, the heroes only get locked if you win. So if your incompetent teammate picks like Roadhog, you guys go out, you lose. It's not a situation where it's like, okay, great, now we can't even pick Roadhog anymore, right? So the heroes only get locked when you win, which I think was a very smart decision on Blizzard's part. So at the very least you can keep. But both modes were fun. I played 3v3, I played 1v1. I mean, to be fair, I won both matches, so it's hard to judge how fun a mode is until you start losing. But the 1v1 mode is definitely a lot better. Then finally, they added a couple of new things to the standard loot boxes. So these aren't event things. So Orisa and Sombra both got their sit and their laugh emotes. And then Reaper got a shrug emote. So from the comic book, the Uprising comic book, there's one panel where like Reyes, they ask him something and he shrugs as he's walking out, and it just, you know how the Overwatch Reddit gets. They memes the hell out of it, and then Blizzard were like, alright, so he has a shrug emote now, so that's
that's how that works.
It is what it is. But yeah, there's one thing that Jeff Kaplan mentioned that I want to get your opinion on.
Okay.
So he said that going forward, they want to slow down the events that they have to prevent fatigue. And how do you feel about that?
I think at this point, when you think about how the events are spaced out, right? If there are recurring events, then I'm okay with that. I'm like, now what that can mean a couple of, does that mean like when we get to Halloween, is there just not going to be a Halloween event, Like that's my question. Is that like, is he flat out saying no Halloween event? Which no, that would go against the fact that no, don't worry, next Halloween if you missed out, you'll be able to get the skins again.
This is true.
So if he means we're not just gonna keep adding new events, then I'm like, okay, I understand that. But if he means that like next Halloween we're just not gonna have a Halloween event and people who wanted that sick Reaper skin are gonna be fucked when it comes down to Halloween, I'd say that's kind of bullshit. So I would assume.
For me, sorry, you weren't done.
Sorry, I would assume that he means new events, not just canceling old events that have already happened.
Yeah. What I'm hoping they do is, first of all, I actually do agree. I do think they need to slow down on the rate of events, because like even this event, like I booted my PS4 up, I looked through the skins, I played both modes, and then I just shut my PS4 down. And then it was like a couple hours later, I was like, holy shit, I'm not playing the event. And it's just that the events don't feel like events anymore because they happen so frequently. You know, like literally 3 weeks ago, we had an event. Prior to that, we had an event like 2 weeks before that. If I did, like, I haven't done the math yet, but I'm pretty sure we've been in events more than we've been out of them this year, or it's pretty damn close. You know, it's like it's like short by two weeks or something like that, which I feel defeats the purpose. So I definitely think that they need to slow down. Now, in regards to what you're saying, that is a problem. What I think they could do is just like maybe, you know, since it's a year later, just, you know, add the skins to the regular rotation or something like that. If it's an event they don't want to bring back, like the Summer Games event. I wouldn't lose sleep if they were like, nope, no Summer Games event. We're just going to, you know, release the skins and put them into the regular rotation. Because then you get into the issue where it's like, okay, we don't want people that missed out on the skins before to miss out on them. But then, you know, we're also trying to slow down our rate of events. So we're not having new events, right? So we can't, you know, if we have to do a Halloween every year, a Chinese New Year every year, a World Cup every year, and an uprising every year, then there's no room for new events there because we don't want to have an event literally every month, right? So I feel like the best middle ground might be a year after the event, just add those skins to the regular rotation, right? Or bring the event back. Okay, not bring the event back, bring the skins back for like a couple weeks for people to get them, but then it's not like a proper event or something.
Well, I would feel that that's what I mean is that like if they just said, okay, look, it's the Halloween event, you have a chance to get skins. Junkenstein's Revenge is just a flat out selectable mode, and it's like a week or something like that. You know, maybe not necessarily like 3 weeks or something. Maybe it's just like a week or something. I don't know. Because
like it's really ironic. What's his name? Jeff said that they want to do 3 heroes every year, right? And it was like the reason why they want to do 3 to 4 every year is because they want every hero to feel like an event.
Yeah, I can see
that. Where I'm going with this, right?
Right.
We're in May and we've had 4 events this year already. You know, I do think it's too much. I do think they need to, because like this is the anniversary event, and I was just like, okay, it's new skins and new emotes, cool. And then I just went back to playing Persona, you know, because I was like, So yeah, like when Jeff said that, I definitely agree. You know, there's still, you know, the game is growing. They're figuring stuff out, and I think they're making this up as they go. But I do think that they need to cool down. They need to cool it with the events a little bit, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense. It makes sense to calm it down. I just hope that they're not removing the ability to get those skins, because I think that would be bad. I mean,
all people care about are the skins. Let's be honest with ourselves. No one's losing sleep over Lucio Ball not coming back not coming back in July. Let's be real here.
Let's be real, yeah.
So, you know, honestly, if it was like if it was if we came in July and they were like, okay, here's the Summer Game skins, and they're gonna just cost 1,000 now as opposed to 3,000 or something like that, or even if they just cost 3,000 and they just part of the regular rotation now, I just shrug and I just hit them with one of those Reyes shrugs and be like, all right, I'm good.
yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah, no. But I think overall good event overall.
Overall, looks like a pretty cool event. I'm gonna play a little bit more of the 3v3 and the 1v1. I mean, you know, like that's mainly what I play during events anyway. Usually I play the actual events thing like once or twice, and then I just spend the rest of the time playing 3v3. So I'm gonna be playing a lot of be one. So yeah, look forward to that. One thing that I'm really looking forward to though is that Gwent is finally going into open beta.
Mm-hmm.
So open beta officially starts the 24th of May at 9 a.m. EST, if I'm correct, if I got my conversions correct. Like there's gonna be a wipe. Like all the cards that you got gone. However, every keg that you bought for real money, you get back. So if you bought 100 kegs with cash, you get 100 kegs right back.
Right.
There's a couple of other things that they're gonna give you. They're gonna give you rewards for actually taking part in the closed beta. They're gonna give you kegs for like all of this. It's a really cool reward system. Unfortunately, there's no account linking. So, because I was always gonna play Gwent on my PS4. It's the reason why I never bought kegs on my PC. My plan was always to play it on the PS4. So now that open beta that's coming to PS4, I'm going straight PS4, which means I'm not getting any of my rewards for playing closed beta. Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. To be honest, from the little time I spent playing in the open beta, I played completely free to play, and I built 3 decks.
Right.
In like 3 months, and these were not like face hunter cheap decks. Like a lot of these decks were because the different one of the differences between Gwent and Hearthstone, one of the numerous differences between Gwent and Hearthstone, is that because the equivalent of legendaries are gold cards, and gold cards don't have a cost to them, so every deck runs golds, right? So every deck that you build is going to need 4 golds in it, which is a lot of dust. So like the decks aren't cheap, but they give you so much. They give you like the game is really really healthy for free to play players. And then they made a couple changes. There's a ton of I'll go into it in like videos. We don't want to slow down the podcast, but a bunch of balance changes. There's gonna be crossplay between the PS4 and the PC, and I think this hasn't been confirmed, but I think stuff from open beta carries over into the actual game. So now I can actually start building up my collection. Because one thing that always broke my heart with the closed beta was whenever I got a really cool card, I'm like, well, this is going to be gone in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And, I'm building up my collection, and I'm like, okay, this collection is going to be gone in a couple of weeks. So yeah, now I can actually start building up my collection. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, like, overall it looks really good, and I think they've been shaping up this game really well as they've been developing it, and I'm very interested to see when it launches how it does overall.
Are you going to play the beta? Come on, you got to play the beta.
I'll think about it. Honestly, I've already made a poor decision because I have a coworker who has gotten me back into Magic. So, yeah, so now I'm going down that rabbit hole again. It feels so funny because I feel like De Niro in Godfather 3. It's like I thought I was out and then they pulled me back in. That's how I feel with Magic, because every time I'm like I jump into Magic, I play for like 4 months and then I stop, and then I'm like, and somebody convinces me to come back. It's like, but anyway, but cool stuff. More Witcher news that we've got. A Witcher series is coming to Netflix. So
yep. So yeah, Netflix officially announced that a Witcher series. CD Projekt Red won't be involved in the series, and to be fair, they shouldn't be, because like they're just the video game developers.
Yeah,
right?
I mean.
But one thing that a lot of people are kind of worried about, right, is that, okay, let's be honest here, right? Mm-hmm. The author always tells him, because the author doesn't. If you read like interviews with the author of the books, he doesn't sound like he likes the video games.
You would love to. We never talked about this, but they did an article recently about how he hates it when he wants to make a new Witcher book and they put Geralt on the cover, and he really doesn't like the games, and he hates the idea of how like, people say that the games made me more popular. It's like, no, I made those games popular, and stuff.
Sorry, you're done.
It's because somebody explained it perfectly to why he's such a salty old fuck. And the reason is that when CG Projekt Red came up to him and asked him, do you want to make a game with the Witcher license? He basically said, video games are stupid. That thing's not going to make any money. Just give me a big lump sum. and didn't take the royalties.
Yep.
And he is very obviously not happy with that decision, because if he had taken the royalties, he would be a very, very, very much richer man. And...
But it's funny that you referenced that thing that he said, because I was actually going to reference that too. He says that the books made the games popular in North America, and the fact of the matter is it's the other way around. Let's just be candid with ourselves. Without the games, no one would care about The Witcher in North America. Honestly, without Witcher 2, because even the first Witcher wasn't that popular. Without The Witcher 2, no one would care about The Witcher in North America. So, which brings me to the issue, right? Because the fact that they're not working with CD Projekt Red means that they're basing the characters off the books, not the games, which is fine, right? Until you remember the fact that most North Americans, and this is a Netflix show, it's going to be geared towards North Americans, most North Americans think of the game when they think of The Witcher. They don't think of the book. So, for example, this is because I haven't read the books, so I don't know. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, Geralt's dry humor isn't from the books. Let's say they added that to the game, and then they're not trying to base it off the book, and then they make him more like book Geralt.
I see totally what you mean, because it's like, I don't think you know what it is going to be interesting is how much it depends on who is running this project, right? I'm very interested to see whether or not they really want to make this the Netflix's Geralt, or are they just going to, make it into what Geralt is like a weird combination of maybe what he's more like in the books compared to what he's in the games. Honestly, as someone who has played a lot of 2, and I'm not really particularly impressed with Geralt. I've already said, I don't think he's a bad character, but from what I've played as him, I've just kind of went, I mean, I understand the appeal, but I guess maybe it's just he doesn't really interest me that much. And the thing that does make me a little bit more excited about this is that if it's a Witcher story, see, I like a lot of the other characters in the Witcher story, like in the Witcher games, right? I like the supporting cast more than the main guy, I guess is what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of interested, because if this is gonna, I don't know what kind of show this is gonna end up being, but if it ends up being like a, Game of Thrones-y kind of we jump from characters to characters and not always be, have to have a scene with Geralt, doing his thing, then I'm a little bit more excited for that. But yes, the idea of how they're gonna play this Geralt is definitely gonna be a big factor, because if they go completely like the books, then the people who come to the show from the games are probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now, to be fair, I don't know how different Geralt in the game is from Geralt in the book. He might be a perfect adaptation, in which case, crisis averted, right? But that is something to keep in mind. In regards to who's working on it, Platige Image, which is like an Academy Award-winning CGI company, are producing it. They're working on it. The producers are the one guy behind The Mummy, and I can't remember the second guy. Whatever, it's irrelevant. I don't really bother with producers because whatever. Tomasz Brzezinski, who directed the cinematics for the game, is directing at least one of the episodes. So that's good. At least.
Okay, that's good.
There's a bit of carryover. And then Platige Image, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, they did all these cinematics. They did the CGI for all the cinematics for all the Witcher games. So there is some carryover from CD Projekt Red, from the games to the show. All in all, I'm excited. And then one thing, he's like, why is everyone excited? We've literally never had a good video game adaptation. Because, when we think about bad video game adaptation, we always think about movies, right?
Right.
But then I was like, has there even been a good video game TV show?
I'm trying to think. Thematically, I can't think of any off the top of my head. But what makes this interesting is that when this does launch, will this be the first Netflix TV show? Because I feel as though Netflix can sometimes, Netflix produces a lot of pretty good content, like
Yeah.
overall, and they like to take, they like to, they like to let people make shows that are like that they wouldn't exactly be able to make on other like with other producers or like in cable, I guess.
Yeah.
So it gives them a little bit more creative freedom. So it makes me a little bit hopeful that if a Netflix show might have the possibility to bridge the gap of shitty, I guess is the best way to describe it. But it is definitely. I feel like with the people that they have working on this, it's like, oh, I know this is a stupid question, but I've never asked. Is this going to be animated or live action?
We don't know yet. The fact that it's a primarily CGI company working on it. At first I thought it was just live action, but then when I saw the credentials of the company that they've attributed to it, I'm assuming that it might be CGI, but we don't know one way or another.
I would say if it's live action, it's got a lot against it, like
money.
a lot.
It's gonna be so expensive.
Well, it's gonna be way too expensive if they want to do the world justice, right? Now, if it's let's say it's animated, but they're short episodes, like super short, maybe 11 minutes or something like that, and they're like little like snippets or something like that, then okay, maybe this would work. But I don't know. There's a lot of different styles you can do a show. Like you can do like an hour-long Game of Thrones show. You can do a 22 minutes episodic Samurai Jack show. You can do an 11-minute like show with really short stories, but they all interlink into one main plot. Like there's a lot of different ways that you could handle, I guess, this property. So I'm very interested to see what kind of style they're gonna go for. Sure.
Yeah. Now, with this and Castlevania coming to Netflix might become the home for video game adaptations. If both of these are if both or one of these is successful, then we might start seeing more video game adaptations on Netflix. Like a lot of people have tried with movies and have tried and failed with movies. But there have been a lot of attempts with TV. So if this is successful, you know how it always goes. It takes one person to do it rather than everybody, and then the floodgates open, right? So if either this or Castlevania or both are successful, the floodgates might open. We might start seeing more live action. To be fair, Castlevania has already confirmed to be animated, so scratch that. But yeah, this is very interesting news. We're probably going to see anything from the show for a very long time. I think earliest we're gonna see this show is late 2018, maybe early 2019. So actually, how's this? Place your bet. What do you think we're going to see first? The Witcher series or Netflix or Cyberpunk 2077?
Well, 2077 is gonna be dead last. Like absolute dead last. It's so far from being even close to being even started in development. I don't care what they say. They haven't showed us any. You know what? I would be if they want to blow our minds, if they show a trailer at E3 and prove me wrong, I'll be like, hey, you got me, CD Projekt, you got me. But I doubt that. I would honestly. Out of the three, I would say Castlevania probably has a bigger chance of coming out first.
Yeah. Castlevania is probably gonna come out later this year. I think it has a release date for later this year. So yeah, Castlevania is coming soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, interesting stuff, and I'm very curious to see what they're going for. Other interesting stuff that has me more confused than anything, and I may need more of an explanation, is Microsoft has extended the trademark for Scalebound?
Yeah, that caught me off guard. Too. Now, to be fair, companies do this all the time. They just extend the trademark just in case. This doesn't mean that there's anything happening. This doesn't confirm that anything is actually happening. It just extends the trademark in case, because it's better to have it than to not have it, right? However, because this game was far along in development, right? Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft renewed the trademark and then gave the IP to a different developer. They get because like as far along as it was in development, as upset as everybody was when Microsoft canceled it. Personally, I thought the game looked like shit.
I wasn't impressed by it. Like I
I
wasn't
wasn't
impressed.
impressed. Okay, look like shit is a strong word, but I wasn't impressed by it. If it was a PS4 game, I wouldn't have bought it. Period. I would just not have bought it. I didn't think the game looked like anything good. So I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft felt the same way, and that was one of the reasons why they canceled it, right?
Yeah.
But then maybe one of their developers, gave them a good pitch for a different direction they can take because it's a cool idea. So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. So maybe they wanted to give it to one of their other developers to flesh it out a little better or take it in a different direction. Either way, I hope this is a sign that the game is still under development because I'd like to see this become a game, But odds aren't good because this happens a lot where like trademarks get extended,
yeah.
but nothing actually comes out of it. So we'll see. Hey, like we were talking last podcast about how Microsoft has to come out swinging at this E3. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. So I guess time will tell.
Fingers crossed, I guess. I'd be interested to see. New character, though. I fucking hate the main character in those trailers. Irks me so fucking much. Anyway, you know who's a cool character who doesn't suck? Fucking all the new reveals for ARMS. Red.
There's a joke in there, but I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that alone. This is a PG podcast.
I'm sure there's a lot of jokes.
Okay, so they revealed 3 new characters for ARM: Twintelle, Bite and Bark, and Kid Cobra. Okay. So Twintelle. Funny story about this character, okay. Right? So I start watching the trailer. And I get like 3-4 seconds in, and I'm like, okay, hold up, pause. I'm like, let me check the comments because I want to see what people think about this character. I know where this comment section is going to go, but I want to see it with my own eyes. I check comments are blocked for this video. I'm like, of course they are, Nintendo. So then I go on YouTube and I'm like, no. I have to find a version of this trailer with comments enabled. I search, I find it, I boot the trailer up, scroll down, first top comment. Dead ass.
But Twintelle, okay, jokes aside, Twintelle's awesome design. It's fucking radical. Like, I love the fact that she just kind of like just walks around and her hair does all the fighting. It's like, it's a really obvious. I think that these overall these characters are really cool. You've got your Robo Cop and dog, and I like the mechanic where it's like the robot jumps on the dog and kind of jumps back and forth, so it's kind of like a dual character mechanic.
Bite and Bark was the one that caught my eyes the most because coming from Guilty Gear, I was talking about Zato, how he's a puppet character, right? And then I looked at Bite and Bark and he looked kind of like a puppet character because it's 2 characters. You can control Bite, I think, but then you can also control Bark and you can fuse them together. It looked cool. Looked cool. Kid Cobra was the least interesting of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, he looked fine. Like I liked the whole skater gimmick. I liked his arena though. I thought his arena was really, really cool.
His arena was cool. I love the hoverboards that you're on, and at first I thought that it was just like it was just scene dressing, right? But then he actually knocked the guy off the hoverboard. So I was like, oh, okay, so it actually affects gameplay. Because I thought it was just like the hoverboard just replaces walking when you're playing on that stage. But no, you can actually get knocked off it and stuff, and that's cool. In terms of gameplay, because like I can't speak for you, but personally I don't really understand this game, But watching the trailer, you could see how each character was unique. You could see what each character brought. So that's always a good sign. You want in a game like this, because the character designs at the very least, I gotta give them credit. They're really cool and they're unique, and they all have to have those giant, ridiculous punching arms, but they approach those arms in completely different ways with each character. You have the one that's a mummy, and then you have Twintelle who boxes with her hair.
Yeah.
And then you got Bite and Bark that has like a little robot that it boxes with too.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, and I like the fact that the characters all have really unique designs, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of this game. But yeah. Twintelle, that trailer just made me laugh. Man. Like,
well, like you knew that like it was either gonna be dadass or extra thick, or Like...
It was both. The first comment was dadass. The second comment was thick as.
well, I saw some pretty dank images. It was just like Twintelle covering the entire arms box art.
The funniest one I saw was this one dude. They're like that. What's the name of the new president of Nintendo?
I forget his name. No, don't do it for us. Don't do it. Don't open up a new tab. We've tried so hard. He just close the tab and we'll say that guy.
Okay. So I saw this beat where it's like that guy, how are you planning on saving Nintendo? And then he posts a picture of Zelda's new shorts, of Zelda's new tights in Breath of the Wild, and then there's another picture of Twintelle, and then you just see a picture of the guy, and he has his arms out like
it's like I got this.
I got this, but yeah, it looks cool. Looking forward to seeing more.
Two other just tiny little things. One thing that I was happy to hear. All new characters after launch are going to be free.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think it's going to be new characters and new gear. When that gets officially explained, because it's going to have like a gear mechanic which you can turn on and off, which I think is going to be kind of fun.
Okay.
But overall, looks cool. I actually am very highly considering picking this up because I kind of want like a fun like little fighter party game that I can play on my Switch, and I don't really have a whole lot. So because there's a doubt we're ever going to get smashed. If we do get it, it's going to be a while. So. But anyway, cool stuff. So let's finish things off with Destiny 2. We got a gameplay reveal.
This was kind of underwhelming. Well, I don't know. I just watched it and I was like, this looks kind of like Destiny 1.5 as opposed to the full-on sequel.
When I watched it a couple times, and then I was like, okay, well, yeah, it looks like 1.5. Like that, there's no way around it. This looks like 1.5. I was more interested to see other aspects of the game that were fixed that really pissed me off about Destiny 1.
Like an actual story.
Actual story and decent voice direction.
Yeah.
And I was like...
That was there.
It was there, and that was what I was looking for. I was like, is this game going to have decent voice direction, and is this game going to have at least a somewhat decent story? And it looks like, from what I saw, that it is setting up a relatively good... I think it's going to be a pretty good story overall. And like we talked about before, like I think when the setup of finding like 7 heroes in the galaxy to fight the big bad, I think is a really good setup.
Yeah, it's like 7 samurai.
Yeah, it's like yeah, 7 samurai in space. Ooh, I'd be down for that. But yeah, like gameplay wise, it doesn't seem like they really advanced a whole lot. I think what I'm more interested in is that I'm more interested in seeing when this game launches, if it launches as a more complete experience,
Well, I mean, it better.
Because, like one of the top comics was, aptly so, fool me once, and I do want to see this game succeed, and I'm not seeing a whole lot. I wouldn't consider this I consider this, the reason why they probably named this Destiny 2 is because they want to start from the ground up, but it's not really a sequel. It's more like they want to have a better starting point than Destiny 1, because Destiny 1 was such a shit show at launch. I don't know. But honestly, yeah, I was a little bit underwhelmed, but I was more looking for the stuff that I didn't like in Destiny 1 to see if it had disappeared. And I saw some aspects of that. So.
But yeah, overall, this honestly just has cash grab written all over it. Maybe, you might be right. Maybe they want to start from a proper foundation, because It's better to, instead of constantly patching and patching and patching and doing a bunch of band-aid solutions to the old game. Why not just make a better foundation and then start working on that? Either way, I'm not gonna be buying this. Like I considered buying it when it was announced. But I mean, first of all, I watched the gameplay and it just looked boring. But on top of that, it's coming out in September, where I start school in September, and then Marvel comes out in September. So I'm just not going to have the time for this at all, or the money.
Yeah. This is true. This is true.
Yeah, hard pass on Destiny 2. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. I can't even lie. I'm pretty disappointed. It looks just so mediocre. So yeah.
I just hope it's a better foundation. I just hope it's a better game. That's my thoughts on it, really. Before we wrap things up, though, we got our question. Can't speak today. We got our question of the day. And it's from the lovely J Streets. Shout out to J Streets. And he's asking us, I don't know if you sent me the message in, but you sent me Kojima, not Kojima. Is Hideo Kojima overrated, underrated, or rated just right, and why? So do you want to take first swing, or do you want me to take?
I'll take first swing at this. Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I don't like this question because the whole argument of underrated versus overrated versus rated well, it pretty much based on who you ask, right?
Right.
And it doesn't speak to the actual talent of the individual, right? Because it doesn't matter how good you are. If I'm like that, that person is better than God, then obviously that person is overrated, right?
Yeah.
So and I mean, like, there's a great philosopher once said, I went from the favorite to the most hated, but would you rather be underpaid or overrated, right?
Yeah.
And what the line pretty much was going on was the fact that there's never a middle ground, right? You're either Psychonauts or you're Call of Duty, Yeah. There's really no middle ground. The second you start getting popular, then there's gonna be those people who come out and they're like that. Yeah, he's good, but he's not as good as people say he is. But I'm like, okay, how is that his fault? So for me, I'm like, Hideo Kojima. I'm not gonna give him one overrated, underrated, rated. I'm just going to rate him personally. Okay. Hideo Kojima is a talented video game developer. He made one of the most influential games of all time in Metal Gear Solid. Whether or not you like it, Metal Gear Solid.
It's very influential.
Pretty much gave birth to stealth video games. Period. Right. And at the time, this is back in the PlayStation era. Back when we didn't really have conducive stories. It was one of the best story-driven games ever made at the time. And then it was also a very creative game. To this day, I still think back to the Psycho Mantis boss battle. I'm like, that was some really, really smart stuff. From the fact that you could make your controller vibrate, to the fact that you needed to switch your memory card, to the fact that he could read your memory card.
Yeah.
He'd read memory card and then.
Do you like to play Castlevania? It's like the best.
Yeah, and he do stuff, and I'm like, that's just a really cool way to break the fourth wall. Now, you could make a case that he peaked. He peaked with Metal Gear Solid, and none of the following games have been as good. But
if I'm being perfectly honest, I think 3 is probably his best game.
I never played 3, but I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that 3 is the best of the 5. And I can definitely see that. 3 is the most unique by far. And 3 but yeah, I haven't played 3. 2 was okay. 2 was a fun game. That just, it was never going to live up to the hype. There you go. There's that thing with overrated and underrated again, right? 2 was never going to live up to the hype of MGS1. 4 personally, I hated 4 playing it, but thinking back to it now, I liked the gameplay. There were a lot of really, really good set pieces. And here's the thing, is that I finished 4. Which speaks to the fact that I couldn't have hated it as much as I think I did. Yeah. What I hated was the story, and that's the one thing that I'm going to criticize him for, is that past Metal Gear Solid, I feel like he his stories haven't been very good. Now, obviously, I cannot talk about 3 because I never played 3, but I played 2 and I played 4, and I've heard mixed things about 5. So, but 5, there's that asterisk next to it because Konami and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna talk about 2.
Yeah.
And,
2 and 3, and like, you can only really do with like the ones that you've played, right? And like even me, like I've only really played 5, and I know a lot about 3. I know a lot about 3, and I know a lot about 1, and you do like with 5, it's such a weird because 5 you were right in the sense it has to have this asterisk. Because part of me when I was playing it, I was like I could see like there was these really interesting directions that the story was going. I like the fact that it was taking its time and it was like pacing itself really really well. But at some point I could see that like I could see someone from Konami sticking his fingers into the mix. Kojima's cooking something and some stupid guy started throwing in microtransactions and fucking insurance into the game, and it's just like, oh.
But yeah, the one thing I do want to criticize him for, right, is so there's a very important element of visual storytelling that is show don't tell, right?
Right.
And that's one thing that Hideo Kojima never heard about because with MGS4 and MGS2. I think I've spoken about this on the podcast, right? About how one of the cutscenes was so long I got into a fight with my girlfriend because of it. And have I spoken about it on the podcast?
I don't think you told me about that one. I think you've told me like you left and made a sandwich and came back and the cutscene was still going.
Okay, so my girlfriend texts me. She's like that, she really wants to talk about something. I'm like, okay, just give me a minute. Let this cutscene finish, right? Obviously, I didn't say let this cutscene finish. I said, just give me a minute. I'll be with you in a second because I thought the cutscene was going to end. And then like an hour later, I'm still watching the cutscene. And she's like, dude, what the hell? And I'm like, honestly, like, on one hand, I feel you. I understand. But this is the ending of MGS4, okay? And you can't pause. So...
Like, imagine if it's like you go to you attempt to pause and it just skips the entire cutscene and it just cuts to credits and you're just like, what the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, so like the whole concept of show don't tell was never told to Hideo Kojima because with MGS4 specifically, the storyline got so bloated, so convoluted, and so stupid that I was just like, that was where a lot of my frustrations with the game came from because MGS1, the gameplay was fun. But, like, I played it for the story because, like I said, at the time, it was one of the first video games that hit me with, like, a proper story. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast,
It's very cinematic, yeah.
Sniper Wolf was one of the first video game villains that I killed, and I was like, holy shit, when she's telling me her story about how her family got murdered and, how she had to, like, struggle to eat and stuff like that, and that shit is hitting me, and I'm like, damn, why did I kill this chick? Then MGS4 comes along, and they're like, oh, this worked really well with Sniper Wolf, so we're gonna make all our bosses like this. We're gonna give all of them tragic backstories, and I'm like, that it only works in moderation. The four beauties or whatever they were called, literally all of them, their backstory was, oh, this one was forced to eat her family.
Or something ridiculous, yeah. It's actually it's really interesting that you say that he loves to just jam his games with dialogue and a lot of explaining and stuff like that, and it's like Otacon is like talking for 30 minutes trying to explain what the fuck is happening. But then this was a very interesting critique that a lot of people said about MGS5 is that a lot of people complained about in MGS5 that he actually didn't talk enough, that there wasn't actually a lot of dialogue or enough dialogue in MGS5, at least in the main cutscenes. And to that certain extent, I kind of get where they're coming from because a lot of the actual story in MGS5 is in the tape recordings, right? And it's really weird that that's where most of the story is told. So, yeah, I don't know if it's just like he doesn't really... I don't think he doesn't understand a good balance of when you need to have a character sit down and explain a lot versus when you have to have a character just sit and not say anything,
Yeah. Now I never played 5, but like for someone who played 4, I hear that and I'm happy about it because I'm like that. If Otacon is gonna sit there and talk for 2 hours, at least let me be able to multitask. Let me be able to do something else while this idiot is babbling on about
Metal Gear.
Yeah, so and then obviously there's like, I mean, his main games are Metal Gear Solid. He's done other games, Zone of Enders and stuff. Zone of Enders 2 was actually a really good game. Solid gameplay. I love the way the game looked. It captured the essence of giant mech battles. So like I said, Hideo Kojima, I think, is a talented video game developer. That's an opinion, but Hideo Kojima has made some of the most influential video games. That's a fact, right? So where I stand on it is that I don't really like his games anymore. Because like I said, I feel like I feel like his stories are just ridiculous at this point. But the gameplay, MGS4, like this is a game that for like the longest time I thought I hated, but then I thought back to it, and there were just so many set pieces that I remember playing and I enjoyed. And the mere fact, like I said, because MGS4 is not a short game, the mere fact that I finished it speaks volumes about the quality of the gameplay. Because like me, I don't have patience. I don't have patience for games I'm not enjoying. The second I'm like, this feels like a chore, I'm just going to stop playing it. But there's a scene where you fight against Metal Gear Ray using Rex, and that was badass. The final boss battle, it pretty much goes through MGS 1, 2, 3, and 4. The music changes, like it's Liquid Snake, spoiler alert. You fight Liquid Snake, and he has like 4 health bars, but then each health bar, you fight with like the combat system from each game, and the music changes. So like you're playing, you're fighting him, and the MGS theme is playing, and then you go to the MGS2 health bar and using the MGS2 combat system. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's this one scene where like there's a bunch of Metal Gears attacking this place, and you have to hold them back. There's a lot of really, really cool what's this thing called? Set pieces. And I couldn't even appreciate all of them because I never played 3. There's characters from 3 that showed up, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of story, Navi, he gets an F from me. So like all in all, I'll give him a B plus as a developer, because at the end of the day, for me, gameplay will always trump story. I can sit through a game with bad story. I mean, for God's sake, Bayonetta's story is nonsensical. That's one of my favorite games of last generation. I can sit through a game with bad story and amazing gameplay. I cannot sit through a game with an amazing story and bad gameplay. I'm like, just make it a movie then. Don't waste my time.
You always need a good balance. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing with me, is that like with me, like it depends on what kind of bad the story is. Like if I'm gonna have a bad story, I want it to be ridiculous. So I can at least get entertainment value out of that. But if it's just a bad story and it's not even entertainingly bad, I'm just like, fuck this. I don't care if you've got the best gameplay in the world. Yeah, I'm just gonna tap out, like that. But that's how I like that. That's the thing. It's like if something has that kind of bad story, then I'm like, ooh, I can't deal with that because I'm gonna be angry. But anyway, getting back to the point on Kojima, I think he's overall a really, really talented guy. He's not really underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I would say that he's rated, like, if I'm just going back to the question, I think he's just rated well enough. Like, people respect him in the industry. People still critique him for his ridiculous stories. And, but they do know how influential he was to the video game industry, and they know that he's an important figure. So I think he's respected enough. If we're going back to the heart of the question,
Yeah. But yeah, for me, like I said, with this kind of questions, I don't like it because it's based on who you ask. There's people who think that he's like the second coming of Jesus Christ. And there's people who think that he's a talentless shrew who got what he deserved at Konami. I mean, obviously, there's people in Konami who think he's a talentless shrew, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like for me, it comes down to who you ask. So if you ask me, I'm like that. I'm like that. He's a solid developer who's made who's made good games, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can debate whether or not his games are good, but and Metal Gear Solid was one of the most influential games on the PlayStation.
Oh,
Period.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like it's the reason. I mean, sure, the influence hasn't always been positive because it's the reason why developers started like just sticking stealth sections into all of their video games.
In the video games. That's a very interesting, It's when something comes out and it's really, really good, there's a lot of copycats, for sure. We've seen that all the time in the video game industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that was a good question, good discussion. Great question, Jay Streets. And if you got a question for us, don't forget to leave it in the comment section. And we'll make sure to answer it in the next podcast. And as always, this is your host, Freedom Liberty, and...
Go ahead, Yusuf.
And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.